Now I'm going to show you how to do twining. So for this, we're going to try it with one long piece of yarn. Once you become masters at this, you can do it with two different colors. So you'll want to start by taking your yarn, putting it underneath the very edge of your warp, the last warp thread, creating a loop of 2 equal lengths of yarn, one on each side. So this is a very strong stitch. You'll see this a lot in rug making. You'll see this a lot at the very end and the very beginning of weavings. And essentially what you're doing is you're weaving both wefts together and under and over the warp. So what you're going to do is you'll take, let's say, the one in the right hand. You're going to go under the second warp thread. And now you're going to take you'll trade hands and you'll take the one in the right hand again, and you're going to crisscross the warp thread and go under the third warp thread. You'll switch hands, take the one in the right hand, and you'll cross over the warp thread and go under the fourth warp thread. Switch hands, take the one in the right hand, cross over the warp thread, and go under the fifth warp thread. This is a great technique also to outline shapes, to create lines. It's secure because in one thread it is both the overs and the unders. This is kind of an advanced technique, but I believe in you. I'm going to show you how you can use it to create a dynamic line, and then using tapestry weave you can fill in the shape. I'll show you. So I haven't woven in any of this section yet, but I will. So you can already tell just by pushing it, this is very strong. So now you can sort of see this half circle shape. And so if you wanted to, you can fill that in. And this will sort of be an outline for it. Or it can just be a nice line. One thing I want to mention here is that if I were to fill in this half circle shape right here, this would be pretty easy to weave here, but then as you're getting closer and closer to the bottom, there's so much tension here because of this twining that we just put on, and this is going to be very difficult to weave, and that's very normal. So it's much easier to weave top down than to weave in little sections. You could also weave in the bottom up, but I recommend going from the top down. So that's twining. Now I'm going to show you how to use a single pass of color in one direction to create a dotted line. So if you've probably noticed by now, one line of weaving is composed, one full solid line of weaving is composed of a pass from right to left and a pass from left to right. One single pass of weaving is just going to show dotted lines. And the reason for that is because in order to create a complete line, you need there to be overs and unders on both sides. So I'm going to demonstrate. So here I'm going to break my rule of starting in about an inch, and we're going to start from the edge just so I can show you this line. So I'm going to do it all the way to match my twining. But I'm going to leave this open to weave later. Okay, so here we have this pastel color in one single direction. Now I'm going to use my roving in one single direction. We're going to start from the edge, and you're going to do just like you always do. You're going to weave opposite whatever is the row above. If you wanted at the end, well, once you take this off your loom, if you wanted to glue these to the back of your weaving, you can, or you can let them hang out. I kind of like it when they go off of the grid. Okay, and now I'm going to take my purple again. I'm going to go under the blue, and my purple line is going to match the same stitches as the purple line did above right here. So what you get, if you push it tight enough, is you'll get a row of dashed blues, a row of dashed purples, but once you do it enough, the blues will all sit on top of each other and the purples will all sit on top of each other because you're weaving in the exact same places. So let's see if we can create it. The thicker yarn is probably not the best idea, but I think you'll get the idea. Okay, so you can start to see these little columns emerge. Here you're going to be using the actual weft. You're going to be using this blue here to hold in place the purple. Oh, I made a mistake. You can see I went under 2 times. And I knew I was doing something wrong because my stitches were starting to match. It was starting to be an over and an over, and we want the opposite. Come on, Erica. Okay. So if this were really tight, you can start to see these columns emerge. So that's something to think about when you're creating a weaving, because weavings tend to be very blocky visually, and so twining and this technique I just showed you are really nice for creating some balance in terms of how the shapes are being represented. We want lots of little fine line work and detail along with the blockiness of woven structures.